Hey, y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. I am, as you might expect, with Dr. Scott Walter today, factory simulation expert. And we have a couple of things we want to talk about. We'll probably have to do this in a couple of videos, but we want to talk about Optimus, the very, very awkwardly wedged in video about Optimus that Elon did. It was the strangest thing. It didn't fit with the flow of everything else, but whatever. They put it in. There's a lot of really good stuff to see in there. And then we also want to talk about the new way of building vehicles. And then I actually want to talk to you about the factory simulation, because they had some gorgeous factory simulation evidence.
Yeah, I want to talk to them about that too.
Yeah, so definitely subscribe so that you catch all of them. But we're going to start with Optimus. And I was trying to download this, but this is such a long video that I'm going to have to do this on YouTube, which is silly, but such is life. So there we go. Okay.
Yeah, the next time we'll get a better frame-by-frame analysis anyway.
Yeah, anyway. So this is kind of a hot take. We're doing this right after the event, well, the morning after, but anyway, early. And both of us have lives. So, we have to get back to it.
Yeah, it's
so
anyway, a tepid take, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to put the audio on because I don't think he added a ton of stuff that was super valuable. Anyway, you can see right here, it's like an hour 48:30 or whatever if you want to go. And of course, I'll leave a link to the video in the description. But here we go. I'll play this and just stop me. I can only kind of flip back and forth by like 10-second increments. So we can just start here. We've got this lovely picture of the
right. And the thing I want to point out is
disembodied arm.
Right. You, Randy, and I had a discussion the other day about what to see. And I'm trying to remember if it was you or Randy that talked about Optimus building Optimus. And we more or less said that, like, well, eventually they get kind of down there, but they're not going to show anything like that because there's no way it's even close to doing that. And then what do they show? They show this.
The very first thing, I mean, this entire
thing, scene right out of Star Wars.
Yeah, it does. It looks like that. It looks like
you get Chewie coming over there. Oh, we're gonna put C-3PO back together again.
If they only built this out of gold instead of silver or aluminum, it would look just like him. So yeah, as far as I remember, the entire video takes place in some sort of lab that they've got. Obviously, I would assume in Palo Alto. And so you can see, you've got one Optimus standing back there and then just an arm.
And there are a lot of edits in there. I'm going to point out where there's.
And by the way, this is beautiful. The finger control, the individual fingers. I don't know if you saw that, but let's see if I can pop back. Yeah, let's see.
Right.
So like I said, sorry, I don't know why it's only per 10 seconds. But yeah, look at that. That's really pretty. That's very nice.
So that's on a test stand. They're verifying everything's working. It's like, okay, the arm is fine. Now we can mount it.
Right.
Okay. So what's the next?
Then we cut away to this. So you can see different version of Optimus. He's got plastic hands. I don't know if that's a more advanced
they're covered now.
Or, pardon?
Yeah. So it looks like they've covered the hands from the previous version. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So and yeah, he's still got his little made in Texas belt buckle there. So that's cool. So and someplace back here in the background, I have a made that belt buckle too. So that's cool. So you can see, as we all know, the custom actuators that they've built themselves, the hands, I don't know what's going on with the head. They still haven't shown a lot about the head yet, which is unfortunate. It'd be really cool to find out more about that.
Right. But what's amazing is how much they've kind of left exposed for prying eyes like mine to see what's going on. Yeah. So they're not worried about the cosmetics yet. The final version, you're not going to be seeing all that. You're not going to be seeing all that cabling. In fact, the cabling is much better than it was for Bumble C. They've reduced it, but they haven't reduced it enough because they're still tinkering.
Right.
But they're going to have
also noticing
because those are snag points.
A very elegant hip rotation or torso rotation above the hips. You can see, I mean, that's really, again, for people who probably don't think about this a lot, like getting balance at any given position is a really complicated problem.
Yes.
So that's very impressive. So,
and a lot of it is probably in the ankles. Now this here, okay, so
that's one of the things. That's when my mind just went.
Right. Okay. What they've proven is that the hand can grab a flexible cable and unplug something.
Right.
What I'd like to see is whether they can actually do the plugging in. They're not there yet, so don't infer too much. But still, this is already a step forward to be able to go in for a flexible cable and be able to pull it out.
Right.
So, if they've got some raw footage of that going in, show it to me.
Right. Later on, they took a cloth off of a picture.
Yes.
And that's also very impressive too. Like you said, they're not putting it on the picture. That's a different level, but still.
Yes.
So this is a huge improvement right here. I know it might not seem like much, but a flexible hose or flexible wire conduit.
It's already showing that they're thinking about that problem.
Right.
And the first thing is at least be able to grab it.
Right. And you can see he grabbed it, put it down, going up. I'm not sure. Right. I'm not sure what he's going to do here.
Now here, there's something there. You see, he's trying to figure out what's the best way to pick up this arm.
Right.
So it's almost like a moment of hesitation. How should I go about this? Like, oh, I'm going to put my hand underneath. Right. So my left hand is going to go underneath, the other one's going on top.
And now also here, the rotation of the left wrist is so I'll just go back again to this.
Yes.
Sorry again, because I can't stop it frame accurate, but watch that left wrist just rotate. That's very cool.
Yes, because it's like, oh, that's how I have to get in there. And this is the path I have to get there to make sure I'm not hitting anything when I do that flip. And then come around and come in.
Right.
And it's showing a wide range of motion there, which is pretty good on that wrist.
Yeah.
That's actually very good.
Right. And I'm if I'm remembering correctly, Elon Musk said this is not pre-scripted stuff. You know, they were specifically marking themselves off versus Boston Dynamics, which does incredibly impressive things, but they're pre-programmed. I mean, down to the microsecond. So
Yes. So it's going along, it's deciding this is how I have to go about this particular task. And then go ahead. And then we're going to have to try to go back a frame or two at one point.
Right.
Now,
did you see that dexterity in the fingers? It actually kind of like
but there's a freaky moment there. Go back again for a second.
Yeah.
Notice that when Optimus grabs this disembodied hand, that one of the fingers suddenly moves. It's
one of the fingers on the hand moves?
Yes.
On
the disembodied hand. Move that again. You see the hands are closed here. This is an edit. And then when he grabs it, you see that one finger just moved open. Actually, two of them already were open. So we know that we missed something in the edit, but one of them kind of flipped out. So it's like, whoa, wait a minute, there's still some nervous system activity in that arm. But
this, by the way, was where it got really freaky for me.
It's intention, and you can see in the hands, the close up in the hands, that they have the springs that are in there. So when it was unplugged, it was kind of in that state right there, and then just by hitting it, these things just kind of decided to pop out. So it tells you a little bit about how the fingers do not actually have a servo to open. They more or less have something to help them close. There's a big clenching force, and then those torsion springs are used to pop them out.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of in there, and then maybe what was happening is that they were slowly leaking out whatever the current that would have been holding that in there, and then boop, it just goes. And then obviously just shaking it was enough.
Right. I also want to point out that the fingers on the active Optimus that's picking it up, you can see that there's an incredible dexterity in the way the fingers.
It looks like he's playing the violin there.
It looks
look it over in the right hand, the way the fingers are around there. It's like, oh, what is it? Is that a G or an F he's got there? It's like he can play the guitar.
Yeah, so maybe he will be able to. Who knows? But it looks like what it's doing is it's a discontinuous surface, and so the one finger has gone into kind of a divot.
Exactly,
and that's just beautiful. I mean, that's absolutely stunning.
And also figuring out what's the most stable way to grab the arm. So you see the fingers; they end up finding like a cavity to be able to go in and grab that.
Right.
So it's like, oh, that's a good handhold right there. Bad joke, but.
Oh, that's terrible. But yes, I mean, look at this stuff. This is just so impressive, the way that it's able to do this. I know people we're geeking out about every single frame of this, but I had a feeling we would. So, the walking motion is not the most stable, but it is not tethered anymore.
It's not that fluid in the turning. I've sent this to Gary. I said, Gary, we're going to talk about what's going on there. There's room for improvement in the walking for sure. And the moving around. But I think they're less concerned about that and more concerned about what's going on over here.
Right. But also, again, none of these robots are tethered. So we've moved beyond the stage of tethering these things to them being confident enough, even if they don't look graceful while they're walking, to them walking around without needing attachments.
Without needing something in case they fall over, and a power source. There's no
that's true too. No power source. Yeah. So there we go. Like I said before, I got kind of freaked out when I saw three of them together. It started looking a little creepy.
And this is kind of a typical thing that you would see in an assembly station anyway. You might say, oh, they had to support whatever that socket wrench is that they have. It's like, well, that's gonna be a typical kind of thing that you would do anyways. For a lot of workers already have something like that, or some kind of lift assist or other thing. And so that's pretty cool that it's able to understand the physics of moving that around and get it in place. And then you see the next tool it picks up is something that you get right from the hardware store.
Right. But that's really cool. I mean, the fact that it was able to use a socket wrench and put it in the right spot and utilize it. Very. We had talked about this, by the way, to give you full credit where it's due. You had said that the low-hanging fruit was picking things up, which we saw in the original AI Day demo, and also utilizing.
You want to get to my actual quotes on that? I said
no, but I mean, you said
we went out on the shop floor. I said that as far as the low-hanging fruit is that the fruit was hanging so low it was already on the floor rotting. I mean, there were so many things that were easy. But last night when I looked at this, my head exploded. And I said, I think it's something like this. It was, forget the low-hanging fruit. Optimus just picked the fruits from the treetops.
Right.
This is very. I was not expecting this level of demonstration of what it could do. I thought it would be. It's actually going to be loading a station now. We're going to be seeing that. We're not going to be seeing the water jug anymore because, you already made a comment like, I don't want to see a water jug. Well.
Right.
There's no water jugs here.
Right.
This is something different.
But I think the reason why you're saying it's so impressive here is that that being able to manipulate tools that are made for human beings and utilize them in the way that human beings do is kind of going from that early stage of like, okay, this thing can barely even do anything to like jumping ahead. It's like like cheating. It's like skipping several steps.
It absolutely is.
Okay, and then this is the other one, the socket wrench here.
This is the next one. So this here is they're just taking a standard tool. It knows how to do it. It knows how it keeps the trigger finger out. It knows do not grab with that finger because there is something.
And look at this.
There is high dexterity. And then unfortunately, either because it's a trade secret or maybe it doesn't quite work that well, they don't show it going into the socket. But they do show that at least they're thinking about that. That's really tricky. If you want to go back a few frames there, there's definitely a lot going on here.
Yeah, and also this other hand that's like it looks like it's moving the part or something. I'm not exactly sure.
Well, what it's doing is it's actually picking up the socket that you're going to put into the socket wrench.
Oh, that's what it was.
That's a bolt. It's picking it up and it's putting it in there.
Now,
normally in a production line, you probably would have some sort of auto feed system for that, just for speed.
Right.
But there are situations where the operator has to go and pick up a nut or something like that and actually put it on there. And of course, there's always fumbling. Everyone's always dropping it. So the fact that they picked it up, and of course, they have a special tip that they can just put on the finger to make sure it can grab something like that.
Right.
And then it goes right over there. Now the bolt is in there. And what's happening here, I think if just pause for a second, because, at that point in there, Elon says this. After the walking, he says this quote. So the rate of improvement here, I think, is quite significant. It's obviously not doing parkour. And and that's the point. To which I just said, nor should it, because back in October, I said, I'm not aware of any factory floor positions where doing backflips is part of the job description.
Exactly.
Well, maybe figuratively, but never literally. All right. So, I mean, it's not so much a dig at Atlas, but reminding everyone, we do not need to have this thing doing parkour. This is what's absolutely important. The other thing,
but again, the dexterity of the fingers to pick up that bolt.
Yes. That's already impressive. If it was able to actually put it in there, and we don't see it. Right. But if it was able to do that, then I am super, super impressed.
Right. And so you think they might have skipped over that because number one option is that they can't do it yet. But number two option is that they want to give away exactly how it's doing
maybe how they did it, or maybe just whoever did the editing on here just used their editing liberty and said, oh, no one's going to care to see that. And I realized they're like, oh, that would have been the coolest part. So it may have just been, it's like, we want the Snyder cut, the Snyder cut, the Snyder cut. It's like,
so the director's cut Teslabot.
Yes, exactly. Now, this part here is again my response to just look at it a little bit and then stop it.
Yeah. Or this part.
Okay, once you see something that's going on here, just a little bit more. Okay, you can stop right now.
Right.
Here's my response to that. Optimus is not doing parkour, but it is playing a team sport.
There we go. I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
And it's a team sport. And the thing about this is that industrial robots always have to kind of cooperate together. You know, sometimes they're just operating next to each other. But then there are times where they really have to cooperate, where one of them is holding something for something else and doing that. Or they just got to figure out how to get out of the way. And it is such a difficult thing to coordinate that. It's hard. It's one of those things that you just wish the robots would be off by themselves. So the fact that they're already showing collaboration between the two Optimus is like, whoa, how are they doing that? Are they just looking at each other? Are they communicating telepathically here to kind of figure that out? So it really means that there's a lot more going on there, because they had to know the arm is ready. I'm putting it in there. And the other one is making sure it's in place while the bolt is being done. And then right here, at first I saw this flash and I heard the camera and I'm thinking, oh, they're doing an inspection thing. And what's going is here, they're grinning for the picture. You see, the finger motion there. So that's all about a camera right there. So a little bit of this is polish, to show us something that will be kind of funny. But the other thing is that there's a lot of analytical value here as far as what they've been able to do. And as far as I can tell, you are going to probably have the most polished eye. This is not CGI at all.
Oh no.
There's some nice lighting, some backlighting that maybe prevents you from seeing certain details, because it's like all sci-fi movies. It's always a dark set for some reason. Right. But there's just enough to kind of tease you in what's going on.
Yeah. And also just a couple of other things to point out here. Number one is that, let's see if my mouse, where is it? There's another Optimus back here in the corner, which I hadn't noticed before. And
is that an older one?
You can see its hand and its leg there. So it's like,
that might be like Bumble C. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But also the really impressive part here is that they actually have the plate off on the front. Yeah. So you can see into the internals to some extent. I think, let me see if I can go backwards here.
I'm looking at that, Sean, and that doesn't look electrical. Do you think there's like fluid going through that?
Yeah, I'm trying to get a closer up.
Does Optimus have blood?
Here we go. Here's a closer up. There's definitely cabling. It looks like it is electrical, but maybe there is some water going through there for cooling.
That's what I was kind of wondering. It's like, there might actually be a fluid in there. I don't know.
This part definitely looks like it looks like the hardware 4 unit. Yeah. If you saw that from the car when they showed hardware 3 and hardware 4, it's just a big box that everything is put in, like that has a liquid cooling that goes through it. So it wouldn't surprise me at all, of course, if we had.
So are those arteries? Who knows?
Yeah, we actually, gosh, it might actually, there we go. This is a nice close up from the side. So I think most of this is electrical, but it very well, this is a big chunk of
that doesn't look like any normal harnessing to me with everything separated out like that.
Right.
I mean, that's
right.
And just the way the tubes are bending and everything. Right. It looks like, it could just be also air. It doesn't necessarily have to be liquid.
Yeah, true.
If they're doing something,
but it is super cool to be able to see inside, because that was one of the things that we were like, they put the plate on.
But be clear, I'm not saying there's like any pneumatics in here.
No,
at all. Or if there's fluid, it's there for something else.
Yeah, it's there for cooling purposes.
It's there. Yeah, it's not there for any actuation.
Right. Yeah. All of this are clearly actuators doing this. So anyway, I'll play this back one more time, because right after this scene is the picture itself has
the picture. Yeah. You don't realize
it doesn't have a cover. It doesn't have a cover on it right now. So, but this is just very impressive. The fact that it's able to pick up a tool. I mean, this was kind of the holy grail, is can it do things that humans do
and coordinate the two arms together? Yes.
Yeah.
Finds the hole, it was, and you kind of notice a little hesitation. It's over here somewhere.
Right. And okay. So now we got it. So we cut away, and now they've put something over this. But this is also impressive, because this is soft. This is not a rigid object.
This is soft. And this is the picture they just took. They're unveiling the picture they just took.
Look at that. Oh, man.
Yep, there we are.
Wow. Oh, that's so wild. There it is. There's the selfie. I think that's the end of the video, isn't it? I believe so.
Yes.
Okay, and then we're back to Elon.
That's the end of it. Now, I have not had time to go in there frame by frame to look really closely at the wrist to see if anything's changed. It looks about the same of what we saw. You can see a couple of close-ups of the ankles. And I mean, remember that the ankles from some of the other pictures they had in there was a beautiful piece of a part, and maybe 3D printed or something like that. And the fact that we see so many in that image means they're cranking them out at a pretty good rate.
Right. Yeah, I think that there's a few little tidbits here that are, I called it hiding in plain sight, because I think it just went past everybody and they're like, oh, but we saw 2 that were walking, 1 that was constructed, but obviously the part of the shtick was they were putting the arm on this thing. And then there was another one in the background. So that's at least 4.
Right.
So
who knows, who was actually doing the video taping? Who was the cameraman?
It was Optimus.
Maybe it was Optimus. I don't know.
That would be very impressive, because it was very steady. It was a steady cam. But so I don't know. Is there, again, this was kind of a hot take. We're just looking at this right after the Investor Day thing.
Yeah, it's absolute hot take on that. The collaboration, the dexterity, the twitching hand we talked about, something about the walking and the low-hanging fruit. I mean, those were some of my first impressions.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be worth another video when we get sort of some more ideas and more results. And if anyone sort of like sends some information our way to analyze.
Yeah. And
I mean, you saw on the foot, you could see the what they have on the bottom of the foot, non-slip traction plate that's on there. So let's say the patient that was up there, there was some detail that we were able to see in the lower leg that you can't see in the ones that are walking around. So that gives us a little bit of detail there. It's just sort of interesting, that walking motion, that when we talked to Gary about that, when it picked it up and it had to make that turn, it looked kind of awkward. I mean, the knees were all kind of coming in on each other, and that might have something to do that you don't have that extra degree of freedom on the foot to kind of allow you to twist in the foot. It has to come a bit more from the hip. So that's why it looks a little bit different. And it's still kind of down low. It's like, it's just not quite confident. So it's still a toddler. It's definitely in the toddler phase.
Yeah.
But
and there's that sort of oscillation shakiness that happens where you can see it doing this and compensating. So,
but you got to remember is if you put all your team, or let's say all your focus on trying to get the walking going, you won't make any strides anywhere else. So they're like, it's good enough right now. Let's really just kind of focus over here and get more. Because that's the real difficult problem. When we get that, we know there's a path to making the walking a little bit better, because right now the walking is good enough. Good enough for what they're doing. It's not going to be good enough for the factory. It's going to still be a bit too slow to get the kind of productivity that you would want to have. But they're making strides there. Another bad joke.
Unintentional puns. The other thing that's just really impressive, and again, we don't have the inside out view like the Optimus cam, but it's the software that's involved with this, not just the software to keep it from falling over and stuff, but understanding the world, knowing how to pick things up, the ability, like with the hand, to go like, oh, I need to turn this hand this way, this way, grasp it like this, pick, and how to pick the cloth. So again, none of it's perfect yet. It's not smooth a lot and elegant, but it's really impressive.
And I have a feeling there may have been a big discussion ahead of time. Like you say, it seems like it didn't fit in the normal flow of the presentation on whether to present it or not. And it's probably like, we got to show something. Everyone's going to expect it. But I think they really want Optimus to have its own debutante ball, just like the new platform. They were so disciplined and not saying anything about the next gen and what it is, even though everyone was prodding.
It was so frustrating.
Dark Elon there when that question came. I mean, I was just ready for the laser focused eyes. He asked what, and everyone, but they are teasing. This is going to be awesome, and this is not the place, because it deserves its own presentation. And I think at this point, when they are ready to really show us what Optimus is doing, they're going to do that as well. But their big picture was, of course, looking at sustainability and where does all this thing come from? And they cut down all the FUD. I mean, every argument that you keep on hearing from everyone why EVs are bad. I mean, there was the thing about coal. It's like, wow, even if it's 100% coal power, it's still better than the ICE vehicles. And to me, it's like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that. So I was like, I'll accept the fact it's coal power, but guess what? Still half the emissions for its lifetime.
Exactly. So, I felt like it was a little too long. They could have maybe contracted the presentations, each one, to make it a little more punchy. But what they were doing was such a huge project. And the fact that they showed you mathematically, it was not like unicorns and rainbows. It was like, no, here's the math and here's how we do it. And here's the accessibility.
I don't know about you, John, but I was like, it's over already.
Yeah.
So
the only thing was I really had to pee and I was like, oh gosh.
You can always hit the pause and come back, it was, it was something else. Now, do we, well, I don't know at this point, if you want to say bye and then we come back in because we want to talk about the unboxing.
Yeah. Let's go ahead.
We're going to do our unboxing video about unboxing.
Right. Yeah. Let's let's go ahead and cut away from this. So anyway, we're going to do one about the construction, the parallel serial construction of the car. But that's it for Teslabot. Let us know what you think. And especially if you happen to be a robotics person, let us know what you think. In the meantime, everybody have a lovely day. We'll see you. Bye-bye.